What's up guys? Welcome to my channel. In today's video we're going to talk about why your car overheats, how to diagnose it, how much it would cost, the components and everything that you see here is part of overheating for the engine system. So in other words, everything here is what keeps the engine cool. So it all starts with your antifreeze, that little blue bottle right there. That bottle has antifreeze in it. So what happens here is, first of all, let's say your car is overheating. So take note of everything that I say, okay? Because I do judge a car when the car comes in. Honda comes in, or Acura comes in, or Toyota comes in, or Lexus come in. They're the same thing, but they do have a little bit of a difference in them. Okay, first of all, it depends on which car you're checking, okay? So that matters. Secondly, the scenario, the situation, why did the car overheat? When did the car overheat? So when the customer comes to me, the car is boiling hot. First of all, how much did they overheat? I have no clue. Okay, why did the car overheat? I have no clue. I need to test. I need to change components, diagnose, check things out. So that matters. So first of all, let's say you have a Chrysler 300. Let's say you have a BMW. Let's say you have a Nissan or a Honda. All three has a different procedure, even though the system works the same. So first of all, depends on the vehicle. Let's say I get a Chrysler 300 and the customer tells me their car overheated. I would ask some questions such as, did you have the AC on? Was you driving on the highway? Was you local? Those things matter because on the highway there will be airflow. Locally there won't be airflow. Did the car overheat when it was at the red light? Or did the car overheat when it was on the highway? Or did the car overheat when it was with AC on? So those things matter. So that's the first thing. Let's say we have a Chrysler 300, okay? So the antifreeze goes into your radiator or your reserve box here. So first of all, these things are in order, like the radiator and the fan and the engine. In between, there's a whole bunch of sensors and stuff. So everything matters. So I just want to see my camera. It just went off for a second. I'm going to go take a look and I'm going to come right back. So what we're going to talk about is, so let's say your car overheated. So you need to check. First thing, a car would come in, my questions would come to the customer. And then after that, let's say the customer tells me the car overheated as soon as I put the AC on. That tells me a lot, okay? And then the car didn't overheat as soon as I started to drive. The car would start to heat as soon as I slow down. Those things tells me a lot. That thing tells me there's a win factor there. Anyways, so a few things that you could do to avoid all this in the long process of a vehicle. So first of all, air flows right through your front of your radiator. So first thing you want to do is check your antifreeze, okay? Check your antifreeze. Long as it's up to level, you're good there, okay? And then we'll talk about other things such as air in the system. Okay, so the air would hit right here. Air will go through here. Remember, there's a condenser in front of it. So a lot of times, if you see there's a little bit of debris in front of this radiator, a lot of times I see crazy stuff build up. And it's hard to see in between. They got a metal plate on the top. So there's nothing you could do. But you can take a look at the condenser in the front. Sometimes the condenser is blocked. But a lot of people blow in it and then it would go through and block the radiator. So that's the first thing, okay? So check your antifreeze. Clean out your radiator if it needs to be cleaned out. If you're doing a lot of highway drives, a lot of dirt, debris, and bugs in the front of your radiator and condenser. Check for leaks. If your antifreeze is low, obviously there's a leak. So there's a few things you could do over time to avoid some things that I can't even test. I mean, we can test it, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. So why go through that when you should just change those components? So radiator, you would change if it leaks, obviously. A lot of times you get blockage inside, but a lot of people put water in. If you did that, you screwed up the whole thing anyway to begin with. Anyways, so the air flows through. So your temperature usually regulates from 190 degrees to 220 degrees on most cars. So if you're in that air range, you're all right. You might not be able to make it any better. But after that, you have fans, okay? Some fans have a module such as this, okay? There's a module here. So the fan needs to come on a certain speed, certain time. AC, both fans run. This is a single fan on Toyota. This came off the same vehicle, this engine came off. So the ones that air flows through and it will cool off the antifreeze, and it will cool off the system pretty much. But fans are used to blow air through it because the air can't be just blown through it unless you're moving on high. So that matters. When you're driving on the highway, air flows through it and cools the system down. So if you have your AC on and the car starts to overheat and you're driving on the highway, it's no problem. Once you calm down, you call the locals, stop, red light, it overheats again. That means there's something wrong with this fan or there's a blockage there in front of it, there's no wind flow. Okay, it could be either or, okay? To diagnose that, a little bit of electric work, you can check your fuse, relay, just observe your radiator fan every once in a while. Sometimes you don't know, 2 fans, one can fail. I have seen cars that didn't have a good amount of cooling for the AC system because one fan failed, even though the car didn't overheat. Sometimes the temperature will try to go up and down. That could be also fan related. So the antifreeze flow through the system, okay? It has a pump, okay? Here's a pump. So pump will usually leak on Toyotas and Hondas. American vehicles, I've seen these fins just disappear even though the pump is running, there's no leak. It's not pushing any of the antifreeze. So pump is something that you should change. This thing is about $55 and you should change every about, a lot of people go up to 100,000 miles. If you could get away with 100,000 miles in it, don't wait, oh I have 120, 30 still going, no, it's time for you to change, okay? I would knock it out at 70,000 miles if it was my vehicle. Anyways, that's that. So this is the heart of the system. It circulates the antifreeze, okay? If it can't do that job, none of the system matters, okay? But, however, there is a pitch stop. There's a doorway pathway. It's called a thermostat. Here's a broken thermostat right here. This is a broken thermostat right here. You see spring. There's a whole bunch of stuff here for this thermostat. So, I'm going to talk about this thermostat here. So, these thermostat, over time, they will break, they will stop the work, they won't open up on time, they will be delayed opening or they will be stuck open. So the system needs to be the perfect amount of temperature. So if the system is not at perfect amount of temperature, you're still going to have issues. Fuel economy also matters here. So if the car is too cold, it's not going to perform like it's supposed to. So it needs to be just the right temperature. So that's one thing. And on this thermostat, there's a small little valve, like I was talking about. Chrysler, Jeeps, BMWs. There's a valve here. We're going to talk about that little valve on that thermostat. Okay? So the antifreeze, the pump pumps the antifreeze. Here's a thermostat on this baby. So it goes through in the engine block. It cools. It picks up, it dissipates the heat from the engine block, brings it out. So the thermostat at a certain temperature, once the antifreeze is nice and hot, it touches here, it would open up. It would go back into the radiator and it would just keep doing that circulation. So this thermostat opens and closes. It's regulated with the grade of the thermostat you have. Usually they open at 197, 95 temperature, but in that range. Anyways, we're gonna talk about one more thing. Here's the sensor, okay? This is a coolant temp sensor. What does this, some cars have 2 coolant temperatures, okay? One is a fan control, one is for the ECM, one for the gauge and stuff. So what this sensor does is, like this vehicle right here, the sensor checks how hot is the car. So when some Hondas have a sensor inside their radiator, so when the radiator is nice and hot and needs cooling, boom, the fan comes on. So something like that would just change it over time. 70, 80,000 miles, change it. Thermostat, change it 70, 80,000 miles. So water pump, sensor, and thermostat, change it all together. Don't wait for it. If you can get best out of it, 80,000 miles, 90,000 miles, just change it. We got another sensor here. On this thermostat, this came off Chevy Encore, Buick, Chevy, Sonic deal. You got a sensor, temperature. As soon as this thermostat opens up, bam, it hits it. It regulates the fan to come on or not. That's that. Believe it or not, sometimes it's the smallest thing that makes your car overheat, okay? So here's another little module. This looks like a little resistor, but this came off. Take a look good at it. Looks like a resistor, but this came off Kia Cadenza. It was right on the fan, okay? This was right on the fan, okay? What this does is it controls the fan speed just like thermostat controls the fan speed of a blower motor. So that's what that does. So we talked about majority of the stuff here, okay? Majority of the stuff. So what if you have a bad head gasket? You're never gonna know. It's hard for me to tell. One side of this thermostat is smoke out the muffler, white color puff smoke. It smells like sugar. Sometimes it'll burn very light and you won't even smell it. So if you fill up the top of your antifreeze and you don't see any coolant, most likely in here, if you overheat it several times, you're gonna damage the engine block. And there's no replacing head gasket on these aluminum blocks heads. Just to replace the engine, a lot of times the threads come out stripped. I've seen cars that overheat and I try to do the head gasket, spend a half a day, and when I try to take out the bolt, it's stripped and it won't last you. Put it that way. Okay, so we talked about radiator airflow, we talked about the fan, we talked about the sensor and the water pump, the thermostat opening and closing. What if you replace all this shit and your car still overheats? Sometimes the tiniest thing makes a difference. Radiator cap. Look at this radiator cap. You think that's not gonna overheat your car? This is gonna freaking overflow your car's antifreeze, okay? So, there you have it. That's that. Let me put this baby back up. So we want to talk about a few more things since the topic came, overflow. So if your antifreeze is all shooting back into the radiator reserve and it's overflowing and everything just coming out, there's a few things. Bad head gasket, too much pressure popping out, thermostat not opening. That's why we say change things on time and don't wait for it. Sometimes your fan won't work, but that will take a little longer for it to overflow. It will boil out of there. First, you will see gauge go up. A lot of times you can tell the life of your thermostat, like it would take, let's say on a cold day, it would take a long time for it to get warm. It won't even go really halfway because the thermostat is stuck open. Those are the signs, okay? You could tell the life of the thermostat just by observing your gauge, touching the pipes and feeling the pipes. So one last thing we're gonna talk about is, see these little valves? This little valve? Some cars, you need to bleed. You could change the whole system, you could change the engine block, everything. Just a small mistake. You didn't release the air. You need to bleed Chrysler 300, Nissan Pathfinders, a lot of the Nissan cars, the heat won't even work. The car won't overheat, but the heat won't work after you replace, after you drain and fill the antifreeze for any certain reason. So make sure you bleed it. Bleeding is very critical. You could ask the shop owner, you could go online, Google it, Chrysler 300, gotta bleed, bleeding Jeep, Jeep's gotta be bled. I try to burp all the cars, okay, even the Hondas and Toyotas. Hondas and Toyotas are very friendly, Acuras, Lexus are very friendly, but Infiniti is another one, G35. I had a G35 one time, it was overheating, and the reason was that it was all blocked in the front. So when I took a water hose and sprayed it down, the car immediately cooled down. I also had cars that go up a hill and they overheat because it's a lot of load. Anyway, the antifreeze just changes the angle, could be the reason. Anyways, thank you for watching my video, guys. And let's just talk about a little bit more. Sometimes you could get away with things, replacing thermostat and stuff over time. Sometimes your thermostat is bad and you never changed it. Now the mechanic changed your radiator, fan, everything. He recommended you a head gasket next. And it was all a thermostat, you never know. It could be a radiator cap, it could be a switch, it could be a bad fan, it could be a bad module, it could be a bad relay, it could be a bad fuse. Don't misdiagnose the damn thing. Replace things on time. Those switches and that thermostat is $55, so it came off a Chrysler 300, no, it came off a Dodge Charger. I got videos on most of the stuff here, bleeding and everything, Chrysler 300, Jeep, BMW, everything. Anyways, all you need to go is on my channel, put in overheating, Jeep, RB the mechanic, it will show up, Honda Accord, whatever the car you got, just add RB the mechanic to the end of the search and it will show up. Anyway guys, don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Don't forget to donate a little bit of for my time and for other people's comment down below. Share, subscribe, and like. See you guys on the next video and bye-bye. And it's easy as that. Thank you for watching my video again. Give it a thumbs up.